Hi guys, this is Jake at Canadian Cutting Edge, and I've got something very special for you today. This knife. This is a classic Browning. This knife originated in 1978 by Browning. This knife belongs to a friend of mine, and he wants to sell it. So he sent it to me, and I'm going to do a review of it and sell it on to whoever wants to buy it. What we've got is a hunting knife. It could have been made anytime between 1978 and I believe the mid to late 80s. I believe that's how long they were producing this knife. It has patina to show for it on this knife, but nothing so dramatic to make it look like, it's not a good knife. It's been well taken care of. It's been sharpened several times, that's for sure. The wood is pristine. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. And we've got brass bolster and finger guard. And the steel that they used back in 1978 was 440C. And at that time, that was a very good steel. Maybe not at the super steel level anymore. I believe 440C was introduced in the 60s, if I remember correctly. And in 1978, 440C was already, just a bit of a notch down from original, because metallurgy keeps moving forward, and it's still moving forward today. And so it is a good steel, a Rockwell hardness between 57 and 59, somewhere around there. And I contacted Browning and sent them high-resolution pictures of the knife and the sheath, and they say this is definitely authentic. And so we're going to look at this knife, and one of you guys is going to buy it. Or gals, maybe. We'll see. I found one other video about this knife, and it's grainy looking, and it's not a very good video at all. So hopefully a lot of you who don't know about this knife, aren't familiar with it, will be able to get at least a good look at a very good knife. Let's start off with the sheath. It's got a snap on it, double welted, handcrafted in Mexico, done very well, nice stitching on it, top grain leather. As I mentioned in the intro, I contacted Browning, and they confirmed that this is definitely an authentic knife and an authentic sheath. And they feel like they are definitely a match from the original pairing. And my friend says that he bought it brand new. So it was a one-owner knife. And you could be the second owner of this knife. And you can see a little bit of wear here, where the knife has been sitting, and brass will do that as it touches leather. It'll start to, discolor a little bit there, and a little bit in a few other places, and that's very, very normal. This is a very good sheath for being that old, and it looks really sharp too, doesn't it? Look at that leather work. Very, very nice. Okay. Oh, and just so that you get that close up there, there's the model number, the 37181 by Browning. Now let's take a look at this knife. What we have is a mirror finish on this 440C blade. We've got a brass finger guard, a brass pommel. I'm not sure what this material is that's in between, but it's some kind of hard plastic. And then Browning said this knife came in two different ways. It was either a tropical hardwood, and they didn't say what species it was, but this looks like a rosewood. Or it came with what they called and had a registered trademark of stamina wood, which was a laminate. This really does not look like a laminate, although it could be. First job after I got married was for a stair company, custom stairs we made, those huge curved sweeping stairwells in those mansions. Well, I got the job of manufacturing handrails while I was on the team, there was like two of us. There was me and one other guy. And we would take really thick chunks of wood that were like 18, 24 feet long, and we'd cut them down into 1/4-inch strips. They'd be like 5 to 6 inches wide, 4 to 5 inches thick, and we'd cut them up with a thin curved blade. And we had to do every cut perfectly because there couldn't be any gaps. And then we would wrap them around a frame, glue between each layer, and it would get wrapped and clamped. And, we'd use like 1,000 clamps to curve it into that curved shape to go up a stairwell. And you couldn't tell that it had been cut and relaminated when we did our job correctly. And so they could have done that with this wood as well. This might be that laminated stamina wood, and it might be. Who knows? Because you can make it look very real and look like the original piece as long as you put everything back in its exact same order. So stamina wood, registered trademark, or a tropical hardwood. Either way, it's proven over these years that it is a very stable piece of wood. It's done very well. So that's good. We've got some patina on the bolsters. You can see it right here. And, the rest of it looks pretty good. You can see a little bit of the patina next to the blade right there, but on the bolster, you can see those couple spots. And, little marks here, but they're all marks that make it authentic. And on the back of the handle, on this back pommel, there you go. That came out nice and clearly. It focused quite well. There's some marks there. If you wanted to, you could buff out almost all of that and make it look very original. There's a little bit of a patina showing back in the middle of this pommel right there. So, you've got that authentic kind of look. You've got a nice sharpener's choil here on the blade. At least functionally, that's what it is. And so when you sharpen the knife, you're not going to mess up the ricasso, and you're not going to screw up the plunge line there. You're not going to make it all messed up. Oh, I've got a fingerprint on there already. I'm going to try to keep the fingerprints off of it as much as I can. Here's my microfiber cloth. Wipe that off. I want to give you the best pictures that I can of this knife. You're asking how much I'm going to ask for this knife. I've looked up the prices, and you can find this knife in a few places. And in the last 5 years or so, I found some histories and stuff. You can find them priced anywhere between $100, and that's with lots of rust, wear and tear everywhere, a broken strap on the sheath, all the way up to $250, and that's for one that looks very much like this, except for the blade tip is a little bit nicer than this one. And maybe there's a little bit less marking on that finger guard than there is on this one. I'm asking $125 US. All of those numbers so far have been US numbers. $125 US shipped to North America. If you want to buy it and you're in some other country, I will pay the first $15 of shipping, and you will pay the rest. That's $15 US value of shipping. So if you want to buy this, be the first person to email me, not comment in the comment section, although you should do that as well. Email me at canadiancuttingedge@gmail.com, and the first person to say that they will pay me, and you need to pay me within a very short time period of when you say you're going to. I just have to make it fair so that somebody else who wants it doesn't back out because you didn't pay and then they lose interest or something or whatever. So you'll need to be able to pay quickly. You can pay by e-transfer. If you're in Canada, you can just send me through the email money from your bank. Most banks will be able to do that. Or you can pay me through PayPal, and I'll accept either one of those. Now let's talk about the specs of this knife. What do we have? We've got a drop point blade on this 440C, hollow grind, mirror finish. We've got a blade that's 9.5 centimeters long, so that's from the brass pommel to the very tip of the blade, 3.75 inches. The cutting edge is 8.4 centimeters, 3.3 inches. The blade steel thickness is 2 3/4 millimeters, which is 0.108 inches. I've measured all these things myself. I'm not using specs that I found anywhere else. I always use my own measurements. The thickness behind the grind, that's just behind that last bevel right there. So the thickness of the hollow grind on either side is exactly 0.5 millimeter, which is 0.02 inches. For a between 3 and 4 inch knife like this, that's just a perfect measurement. I like that an awful lot. Oh, I didn't mention before, there are some marks that you can see that go the length of the blade along that hollow grind, and I think you can see it as I move it back and forth this way. They're just fine scratches, and just so that you know that they're there. It is a used knife, to be sure. The rest of the measurements here, the handle, the thickest part of the handle in this orientation is 2.5 millimeters, 1 inch, and this depth is a little bit over an inch at the thickest, just barely. The handle length, so brass pommel to the finger guard end to end here, is 4 inches, 10.1 centimeters, and the grip area, and I'm measuring, starting at this black spot here to the end of the handle, is 9.5 centimeters, which is 3.75 inches. So the total length of this knife is 19.6 centimeters, 7 3/4 inches. The weight of the knife is 167 grams, 5.9 ounces. That's what happens when you got solid wood and that much brass. And the sheath added into it makes it 216 grams or 7.6 ounces. So not quite 7.5 pounds is not 7.5 pounds. Not quite 7.5 ounces is what you're carrying when you put this on your belt and carry it around with you. Not bad at all. A very sharp looking EDC knife, a hunting knife. Very, very cool. And I really like it an awful lot. I really wish that I was buying it for myself. So what do I think of this knife? I think it has an excellent sheath. It looks good, and it's done very well, and it's in very good condition. I think the knife has stood up very well for its age. It does have a little bit of wear and tear, a little bit of patina. It's got a little bit of history and life to it. The blade is quite nice. It does have a bit of an uneven grind. So look along the, actually, let's try it this way. Look along the grind, and you'll see that the grind on this side is fairly even all the way along. But on this side, you've got a major grind over here on the tip. There you go. And then the rest of it is nice and even all the way down. So it's just that it's been ground, sharpened on the tip a little bit too much, but the rest of the knife has not been over sharpened. It's almost original size and dimensions there. It looks really good. It's a great knife in hand. I can't tell you how good this feels in hand. And with this finger guard, if you did, stab something inadvertently or even on purpose and came to a dead stop suddenly, your hand's not coming across this cutting edge. So that's really good. It looks great. It feels great. It's a really, really nice knife. I do have 2 other knives that I'm going to show you in the upcoming weeks that are still for sale. I really want to sell them for Alan and help him out a little bit. Actually, let's show you how sharp this knife is. Let's do that before we go away. So here's some copy paper. It's a sharp knife indeed. I did a very little bit of sharpening and just a little bit of stropping to help get that edge. I did not do this edge here. I just worked on the very fine edge itself. Here's that 1 inch wide banding that I use for cut tests every once in a while. And it just slides through that, no problem at all. 550 paracord with 7 strands in it. And let's quadruple it up here. And watch this. almost no effort, just barely pushed on it, and it just wants to cut. It's time for me to stop babbling about this knife and just let you pour in your offers for this knife. If you want to pay more than I'm asking, fine, I'll take more money. I'm just taking a very small cut for my own work on this. Most of the money is going to go to Alan, the vast majority of it. And so there you go. Thank you so much for watching, for liking, for subscribing. I really appreciate that. And commenting. Let me know about an old knife of yours that you really like, that you've had for ages and that you'll never give up. Or tell me a story about a knife that you're looking for, something that you wish you always had, or a knife that you somehow lost or got rid of by accident or had to sell because of some circumstances, and you'd really like to get it back. Some old classic special knife of yours. I'd love to hear those stories. And remember, always cut towards your chum, not your thumb.